Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to my latest video here as I take another trip down memory lane. Well, let's hang on just a moment there. Let me instead start with, if you're new here, I like to make these little videos about things that I enjoy and want to share. Usually film, usually either an 80s throwback or something horror related. But, and I try to do it as non-spoiler as I can. So if you enjoy what you see here, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing, and check out my back catalog, stick around to the end of the video, and share both this video and this channel around, as it really does help out the channel quite a bit. Now, back to this trip down memory lane to 1985 with the seldom mentioned, at least, I rarely seem to hear about this film, seldomly mentioned Jim Carrey film titled Once Bitten, which also stars Lauren Hutton, Cleavon Little, and while not one of the stars of the film, it also has Stuart Chamo, I believe his name is, who was in two other films that I did videos on, Just One of the Guys and Friday the 13th Part 2, which of course I will link to in the description. Anyways, here I am kind of yammering on, and I haven't even read what a synopsis is, so the synopsis for this film, Once Bitten, is as follows. A vampire countess needs to drink the blood of a virgin in order to keep her eternal beauty. It seems that all is hopeless until she bumps into Mark Kendall. Boy, some of these I've come across lately are a bit plain, but yeah, Jim Carrey plays Mark Kendall, and Lauren Hutton plays the Countess. She needs the blood of a virgin before Halloween to retain her youth, and she's over 300 years old. And so while Mark and his friends, who, the three of them are in high school, have been kind of out there trying to lose their virginity, as Mark's been kind of frustrated with his girlfriend and everything. So, with her moving slower than he would like, they decide to go out in the town and try to hook up. And, one thing turns to another, things kind of go south, and Mark ends up coming into contact with this Countess, and, where she takes him home and drinks some of his blood. So, a lot of vampire films, shows, books, games, what have you, always have a little bit of their own, mythology kind of worked into it, their own rules, so to say. Lots of similarities, but, sometimes other stuff is worked in. So with this situation, he's bitten and is slowly turning into a vampire. So he's still back at high school, he's able to go out in the sunlight and everything, but he's starting to get these cravings for human blood. He's sleeping in a lot more, slowly getting more annoyed by the sunlight as he's starting to become one of them. And that's our main problem to solve, is saving Mark. So along the way, of course, given this premise, this is a comedy, of course, kind of like an 80s sex comedy, but only PG-13, so there's barely any nudity in it. There's, as far as sex comedies go. And the sex comedy aspect has more to do with just the subject matter in general, with them trying to lose their virginity and putting such a level of importance on virginity and sex. But it's not as over the top as one of the R-rated films of the time frame. So not only is this one also a comedy through and through, but Jim Carrey's performance, and that absurdity really brings a lot into it. And there's a lot of pun-related comedy in this vampire film as well. But another huge part of the comedy is carried by the two actors playing his friends in it. Their banter back and forth as they're attempting to lose their virginity. It's kind of like this other little side story that's going on. While also them being kind of roped into helping out with the Mark situation, being approached by his girlfriend to try to find out what's wrong with him and, help him out with that. So, along with that, of course, we get the 80s, backdrop of everything, which can also be a lot of fun, whether you lived through it or you just, to go down memory lane, or if you just kind of like seeing movies based in that time frame. But, it's a fun comedy, it's very cheesy, and, of course, there's an awkward dance scene, which for some reason was very common in 80s films. They have their own little rules about how vampires work, like I said, with him just being bit, he's slowly turning into one, and there are ways to cure him of this by defeating the Countess. But, it's a fun movie, and, the only thing is that, like Two of a Kind and Transylvania 6500, which I did reviews for previously, while this one is not a perfect film in any sense, like I said, there's a lot of cheesiness in it. Some of the humor doesn't land well, especially some of the homophobic jokes that are kind of thrown throughout it. But I was able to kind of move past that, just remembering that it was a different time, had different comic sensibilities, and it's not a blueprint on how to behave. But why does Rotten Tomatoes have this thing listed as only 10%? It's strange that that it's that low. Like you said, it's not the greatest film ever, but 10% seems very, very low for some reason. I would say that this one is strange that Also in that I personally rarely ever hear anything about this film. Even when Jim Carrey was kind of first really getting into the movie scene with films like Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, they were all getting all this attention, and they'd always bring up In Living Color, and they would even bring up Peggy Sue Got Married, which stars Kathleen Turner and Nicolas Cage, and he's just one of the co-stars of that, but they would almost never bring up Once Bitten. But anyways, with all that being said, I really do think that this one is, pretty fun film to kind of sit back and watch the cheesiness of it. I mean, it's technically a teenage vampire sex comedy, and the early work of Jim Carrey, so it's interesting to see some of his roots in a way. It's definitely worth checking out if you need something light along the lines of my previous 80s review of Transylvania 65000. It kind of has that same feel, is that you're not supposed to take any of it seriously. But again, why the 10% on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know. I would honestly say, if I was still kind of assigning percentages, it's a 55 to 60%, a little over that mid-range. Funny stuff, not great, just above that mid-level a tiny bit. It's got some fun, dumb comedy worth checking out. So, and speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this quick little video about Once Bitten. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please, give me that thumbs up and consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is once or twice a week. Occasionally I'll work in a third. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you enjoyed checking out Once Bitten if you're interested. So thanks for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.